guys, welcome back to the Fool Show. I am Foolish Phil, just doing a recap of Big Ten title game, Northwestern versus Ohio State. I gotta say this game went a lot differently than I thought it would. Props to Northwestern keeping it tight and playing really strong defense. Ohio State kept driving down and having to settle for field goals, coupled with the fact that Justin Fields played probably his worst game as a Buckeye, 12 of 27 I think it was. 114 yards, 2 picks. You really could see how the Ohio State offense was struggling without Olave, who was out. Some receivers were doing wrong routes. That was like I can't remember if it was the first or second pick where the receiver cut up field instead of staying where he was, going toward the sideline, easy pick there. So obviously Ohio State was hindered a little bit by COVID and players having to sit out with that. You got to give props to Northwestern, though. They did bend without breaking a lot. But Northwestern's Ramsey just got the kiss of death from Joel Klatt. Started the second half talking about him being like 12 of 14 or something like that on the game. Just playing, Joel Klatt said, playing the game of his life, the game of his career. And what's he do in the second half? 2 picks and a fumble. Like, when you're trying to upset the number 4 team in the country, you cannot have mistakes like that. To boot, they missed a field goal on another drive. So did Ohio State, don't get me wrong. But when you want the upset, you cannot miss points. You cannot leave points on the field. Turnovers in the red zone. Ramsey threw a pick in the end zone. So it just wasn't going to work. And you could just see it happening. And Ohio State could have scored at the end there, but they didn't. So hats off to them, for the respect between Fitzgerald and Day was apparent there. They kind of, didn't force it, if you will. Fitzgerald didn't use his 3 timeouts. He saw the game was over. But, man, you got to talk about Ohio State's offensive line and Sermon. 331 yards rushing. And honestly, this is where I think the announcers were correct. It was almost like stubbornness by Jason Day to just keep going, Ryan Day, for just keep going for passing when Fields was playing terribly. He was not throwing well at all, and they kept just trying to throw the ball. And Sermon's just racking up yards, and finally about halfway through the third quarter, they decided they were down, I think still 13-10, it wasn't 13-10, it was 10-6. And then they just did a drive where they just ran the ball, and they got a touchdown. Boom, and then from that point on, it's like, yeah, why don't we just run the ball? Our guys averaged 11.4 yards per carry against the Northwestern defense, which had been giving up 90 yards per game. So overall, he himself ran for 331. I think the team as a whole, with some wonderful scrambles by Justin Fields and some play calls for him too, almost 399 yards rushing in the game. Just epic. And, that's just what they needed. Ohio State did not have the offense really clicking passing-wise, and their rushing game just took over. And, so it is what it is. Moving ahead, looking at the big picture, does this win only by 12 points tarnish Ohio State's chance to get into the big playoff, right, the 4-game playoff? I don't know. I still think the committee loves Ohio State. And it's hard for a team to go undefeated and lose unless, of course, you're Cincinnati. Cincinnati drops down even though they don't play. So that's kind of funny, but that's another thing. That's another one. I'll probably talk about that story a little bit more when the college football playoff is officially announced. But Cincinnati's AD, I think, was talking about how they should go back to the BCS formula so it's not so much based on the eye test of the college football playoff. And I actually agree with that, but that's for another discussion. But summarize it, Ohio State just ran all over Northwestern in the second half especially. Sermon, a transfer from Oklahoma, just really came in and delivered for the Buckeyes when they needed it. He just was running outstanding. The offensive line really started to take over. And Northwestern had no answers, and their offense kind of just left them out. Again, how many times can you run this stupid Wildcat play? I mean, it works a little bit, but you're running the Wildcat play too much, Northwestern. Why are you running it so much? And it just got shut down. Ohio State made the change to the straight nickel, as they pointed out on TV, and it wasn't effective after that. even before that, it wasn't effective. After like the first drive or two, it's like, I don't know why they stuck with it. They was kind of being stubborn, or maybe that's just all they had. But Ramsey was throwing really well in the first half, so I don't know why they didn't do more. For them only to have 10 points at halftime was a little bit defeating, too. They should have had more. They should have been up by more. Hey, props to Ohio State. I think that's their 4th straight Big Ten title. And now we just wait and see if they get invited to the college football playoff or not. Let me know what you guys think about the game, about Ohio State, about the Big Ten. Do they deserve a spot with 6 wins? You know, like other teams are complaining. Whoop-de-doo. Who cares if they're complaining? Do you think Ohio State gets in? Let me know your thoughts. Please give comments. I'll try to respond as I can. And until I see you next time, go Blue.